Welcome to Real Estate Powerhouse, live on Tap Talks with your host, Talia Bashani, top real estate attorney and negotiation expert. This is your opportunity to get the inside scoop and hear straight from top real estate agents in the business. Broadcasting live from New York City, learn the secrets of their success and hear the most authentic, real, unfiltered stories about how they got to where they are today. From their wins to their failures to the biggest lessons of their careers and what keeps them rising to the top. And now, here is your host attorney, Talia Bashani.
Hi, welcome Haritini to the show. We are live on Real Estate Powerhouse, live on Tap Talks, and I'm so excited to have you in the studio today. Welcome.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Fabulous.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit about yourself. We want to hear, a little of your background and how you got started in the real estate business.
I actually started when I was 17. I'm going to be 37 next month. I've been involved in real estate practically half of my life, right? So I started working for a boutique firm. A friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, came to me. She said, my mother is opening up a boutique, real estate company. Do you want to work for us while you're in school? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? I used to stare at houses like growing up. I have family members that were involved in real estate, but I never got a gist of it. So I started working for a boutique firm. And then all the while I was in school, I went to college. The minute I graduated, I was already licensed. And then what happened was I felt like, you're going to showings and you don't know your product. And I started noticing like a lot of agents don't know their product. And how am I going to sell something if I'm not confident in what I'm selling? Because I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know how it's built. So I wanted to conceptually understand like from the foundation up, ground up. So when I graduated, I left and I went full-time into a relative's construction company. And they also did real estate development. So my background is in real estate development.
Okay.
And that's been that ever since.
Wow. So when you got started, it sounds like you really got your start in new construction, ground up, new devs, sponsor sales. Like, were you working with the developer pretty much, one-on-one on high-rise condos, or were you doing houses? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
So we did a lot of affordable housing. So it's a different type of real estate that you're involved in. It's not the same as luxury.
Okay.
Totally opposite. I worked solely for the developer. So I was on the other side.
Okay.
So I was screening agents. I was screening people that were coming to us. So I had an idea of the whole scope of work, how it's from start to finish. So it was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
A lot of hard work.
I'm sure. But it sounds like, you really learned the ins and outs, and you have to start, from the ground to work your way up. And, how can you, sell real estate if you don't really get into the nitty gritty? So that's pretty phenomenal. Plus, learning, affordable housing really has a lot to do with government funding and regulations. And, so all of that, I'm sure, was just another huge thing that you had to tackle as a real estate agent.
Yeah, it was another animal. It was good experience for me to understand luxury is luxury, right? Eventually it will sell itself, but to understand how everything works here in New York, affordable housing is and was a very big deal. And, everybody needs housing. And there's people that cannot afford the rents right now. So affordable housing comes into play. There's seniors that cannot afford, housing. So that comes into play too. So a lot of it was structured around affordable senior housing as well, which, I ended up going into, delving into linking with certain nonprofit organizations, volunteering with them, sitting on a board. So it kind of almost felt like it came full circle years later. And everybody's tied into everybody.
Yeah. And it's all interrelated, and you just leave this, network, plus you're doing good for the community, which is huge, and like a passion project in itself. It's not just about making money, it's also about helping people and, giving back.
It is.
So I love that. So tell us about your progress since then, and how far you've come.
Progress since then. I feel like working with who I worked with for about 7 years, okay. It really, I'm so fortunate. I'm so fortunate that I went through it, because while I was there, I remember in the beginning, I had a hard time. So I'm like, I don't understand anything, this is all new to me, and at the end of it, I'm like, I understand why I had to go through what I went through. Like, I never gave up, even though there's many challenges, so many challenges, especially when you're dealing with affordable, like marketing plans and whatnot. Like, it's not 1, 2, 3. It's certainly not 1, 2, 3. So looking back, I've come a long way because I have experience in the development sector, in the construction sector, and sales is sales. So you have to learn how to relate to people. And I think that real estate is a very personalized and personal transaction, regardless of whether or not you're working on, selling somebody a home, or, you're working on a commercial space. It's still it's very personal. Yeah. So I think that people, especially people in my industry, forget that. They kind of take out the humanized, part of it, and they're like, oh, it's just money. It's just another deal. And it's ultimately not. You have to treat everybody, with respect, and you have to understand your clients. Your client has to understand you. And it's about, building that chemistry together where they're going to want to come back. So because I've had, I'm looking at things from a different set of eyes, as I was from the very beginning when I entered the business, where I felt like it's a sale, sales are sales, whatever, it's keep going. But it's not about that for me.
Wonderful. I can really appreciate that. And because I think you look at it from the big picture and not just dollar signs, which especially, in this city and other parts of the country, people are very motivated by the money, and they tend to lose sight of, what really counts at the end of the day. And it's the relationships and, the people that you work with, and really guiding them through the process, because everybody's looking to you, as, there for guidance and really to help them throughout the process. So tell us a little bit about what's your, as far as representing buyers, sellers, who do you focus on more? Is it a little bit of both, or what are you predominantly focusing on in your business?
I focus on both. I never say no to a potential client, especially. I think that it's important to screen your clients too. You can't work with everybody. I think it's impossible to work with everybody, especially when it comes to sales. You have to have that chemistry, and they have to understand you. You have to understand them. There has to be a bond. There has to be trust, and full transparency. And, I look at, whether you're a buyer or seller, I look at longevity. So can I work with you for the next 10 years? Will you want to work with me for the next 10 years or more, God willing? So I'm a little bit of both. I represent both.
Okay. All right, great. And do you work, are you solo? Do you work with a team? Do you have a team? And what would you recommend? Did you start off, working with the team, and what do you think are the pros and cons of both?
So I do currently work with a team, very close. I've been with the same, I would say, team since I started. So I kind of, like I said, it came full circle. The company that I started with, a boutique firm, which is called House and Key Realty, was called House and Key Realty, ended up joining Compass years later.
Okay.
So it's the same team. It's good to work with people that you trust and know, and, they're your confidant. You want to go into work every single day. You have that bond with them. And what I would advise new agents, whether to go solo or to join a team, it all comes down to relationships. Can you see yourself working with this person for the next 10 years? What does it benefit you, in entering a team, and what would it benefit them? It's a reciprocal transaction. So you have to help each other build, and that's the whole, I strongly believe in teamwork, and, I don't believe in anything otherwise. And even if I'm not, somebody that's not a part of the team, I'll still collaborate with them, because that's my ethic. That's how I work. That's how I choose to work. So, do I advise somebody to join a team? Yes, if it's the right fit for you, for both parties. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. And do you practice more in residential or commercial real estate? Do you find that it's hard to shift from one to another? And, what's your perspective on that?
I never dabbled in commercial. I've done a couple of deals here and there. It's not my thing.
Okay.
I'm mainly residential. I love beautiful homes. I've always been obsessed with beautiful homes. But then, then again, when I was in affordable housing, we did a lot of rehab work. So a lot of the housing that we would enter, was a disaster. And we would have to, take the tenants out, place them elsewhere while we're rehabbing what we're doing, the projects. And I think one of the projects was like 19 buildings.
Oh, wow.
So we had to take all of those tenants out for the time being, rehab every single unit, and place them back in. So, you see the beauty in every single little piece of like property that you visit. Just because something is run down doesn't mean that it's not valuable. I always said, like, there's money in mud, right?
Right.
So, I don't think that I would solely focus on just like beautiful homes, even though it's easier to sell a beautiful home.
Yeah.
But, for you to be able to sell a project or a property that is not so appealing aesthetically, that's gold.
Yes.
That's gold.
It takes a lot of finesse. It's hard work doing what you're doing. And I'm sure, there's ups and downs, especially in the market that we're in today, with the rising interest rates and, buyers, not quite ready to pull the trigger. So I'm sure you face those type of challenges, each and every day. What really drives you, every day you get up? Do you have a certain regimen? Is there something, is there a mantra that you live by? Tell us a little bit about how you handle that.
So I wake up at like 5:30. It's like my body clock is just, I'm on. Sometimes I'll wake up at 4:30. I'll take time to myself, whether, I'll have breakfast, I'll work out. I pray. The minute I wake up, I'll pray. I'm very big into praying. I thank God for everything. The whole day long, I'm like, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. Like, even if things go wrong, I'm like, thank you, God. But I think that it's important to, as we say in Greek, keep your head high, but your feet on the ground, and always remember where you came from. And, I think that is what motivates me every single day, and to do better, not just for myself. Like, it's not even about like me and my life and, how I see myself from like an egotistical perspective of I need to be powerful or I need to whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody's driven by something.
Right.
For me, it's longevity. It's what can I offer this world while I'm still here, that's going to better everybody else's lives. And that's it. Money comes, money goes. It is what it is. You shouldn't cry about a deal that goes sour. A lot of us do. But, as far as a mantra, I don't have mantras. I just pray.
Okay. Well, the power of prayer. Yes. And faith, and maintaining that, positive attitude and energy. And it sounds like gratitude is really big for you, and as it should be. And I think we should all be grateful for what we do have and not focus on what we don't have. And that really is a powerful thing, and I think it brings success. It's the laws of attraction. So you can't go wrong maintaining that.
It's like, I'm grateful that I met you at that closing,
Yeah.
It was like a split second. I was like, oh, hey, and it was a bond. There was a bond formed, and there's a bond formed with every single person on this earth. And I think that when it comes to this business, you can't discount anyone. You never know who is who. You never know where it's going to come from. Your next business move, your next venture. I always say, like, be open to all, as long as it's in the same like scope of like your morals and what you believe in, then do it. Don't be opposed to doing it. But I'm very, very grateful I try to keep super, super optimistic.
Yeah.
And I try to keep those types of people around me at all times, because it can affect me. It can affect anybody.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's important in real estate sales as well. You
Absolutely.
want people that are going to push you, that are going to motivate you, that are not going to just sit back and, not be cheering you on. And that's also tied into teamwork, right?
Right.
So going back to the question about whether or not you should join a team or not, you need people that are going to cheer you on the team. If you see that you don't have that, it's time to go.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, it's about supporting one another. It's not about the competition.
Right.
We're all here to help one another. I think some agents get very competitive and, they want to measure their GCI and everything like that. And, it's all about working together, especially if you're on a deal. Like maybe you're on opposite sides of the deal. Fine. Maybe you're the buyer's agent and you're working with the listing agent. But I noticed, and I'm sure you've experienced it, where it's almost like a combative, competition, when it's like we all have a common goal. We're trying to get to the closing table and represent our clients as smoothly as possible. So how do you maneuver, situations like that, those type of challenges?
That's a lot. I think that there will be challenges no matter what. A lot of agents do view others as competition. I choose to not view it that way, and I relay that message from the very beginning. Like, hey, we're on the same side. We're all working for the seller. Okay, great. Like, we've established that. So help me help you. And I think that if you come across, and have that communication with the other agent, whether they like you or not, because you're on opposite sides of negotiating, it's by default. You're lowering their guard, because you're like, hey, like, I'm not competing against you. We all want one thing and we want to get it done. So like, let's cut to the chase. Let's get it done. What does the seller need? If I'm representing the buyer, I'll see what I can do that's going to benefit all. Right. So, I think that it's a good thing to also with buyers that are constantly buying, right? You want to formulate a team where you know who your attorney is, you know who your agent is, you know who, let's say your inspectors are. You have a whole team formulated. So if it works, it works. And you move forward after that. And there's no competition. It cuts time short, because at the end of the day, you just want to get to the end, the finish.
Yeah. Get to the closing, hand over the keys. Everybody's happy. It's a very rewarding feeling, because it's just like you've started from showings, to negotiations, making offers, maybe getting outbid, maybe not getting accepted, going to the next property. It's like, it's a labor of love, right? Until you finally get into contract. And now, great, we're in contract, but now you have to get the deal done. You have to get it to the closing table, which is why your team really is so important. Now, how are you building your, your marketing efforts, getting your leads? What's your biggest source of leads for you in building your business?
Social media. Like, I never believed in it. Like, if you would have told me social media 5 years ago, I would have been like, are you bored? You're bored all day long and you're on social media. But honestly, I've seen crazy things come my way through social media.
Wow.
That I never would have access to. So that's my prime source of like getting leads and just building connections with people, not only, within the States, but globally on an international level. So yeah.
I mean, technology today, it's like you don't have to just send out mailers and postcards and door knock. Now it's like everybody can see you, see your listings, see your services. I mean, that's fantastic. It takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I people, like you invest. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's literally your resume online. And I think that there's people around the world that are I was monitoring my stats. I'm like, people from Turkey are like my prime, viewers. I'm like, how?
Wow.
I don't do anything, in Turkey or, whatnot, or like India, but there's people it's a global like network. It's truly a global network. It's free.
Right.
Obviously, you can monetize off of it. You can, build other promotional relationships with other pages to, showcase your listings. If you're an agent, that's another thing. A lot of my peers have done that. I'm in the process of doing that. But yeah, for like new agents or agents that are just kind of getting their feet wet in like social media, I would highly, highly, highly advise that.
Yeah. And it's huge exposure. It's great exposure for you. And, maybe there's somebody in California or abroad, like you said, that sees your listing or sees you and, is just really attracted to your energy and your whole disposition. And they reach out to you. They're like, hey, I want to work with you, just because of who you are and how you display yourself. So yeah, technology today, is definitely going to the next level. How do you feel about AI? Because everybody has a different, kind of take on that, but that's really entering our business. What's your take on it?
I think that our business is the only industry, and I'll keep saying this it's the only industry that has not evolved. And I think that people are so against AI. Yes, it's going to take away jobs that we humans don't need to do for the process to get done. So it depends on how you're utilizing AI.
Right.
We're controlling AI. AI is not controlling us. So perhaps if we change the way that we've done things this whole time, then we would embrace the fact that AI is life-changing. It's a game changer. And I think that the way that we show listings, conduct business, our scope of how things are done on a day-to-day basis, how we're buying homes, how we're leasing, properties, everything is going to completely be a one-stop shop eventually.
Yeah.
And I won't have to go out and show a listing anymore unless I see your, proof of funds and I know that you're real human being that's really looking, people that are actively looking. You'll know because they'll show you what you need to see in order to help me help you.
Right.
So it'll cut the time short. Everything will be done online. And I can't wait for that day because we're going to be behind the scenes, on our laptops or whatever device comes out later on from, Apple or maybe a new source, who knows?
Yeah.
And I think that I think the pandemic taught us a lot, our industry shut down.
Yeah.
Every other industry did not really, if you think about it.
So true.
Consumerism, like everybody was online shopping on Amazon, Netflix, like everything kept going. Real estate stopped and that harmed our industry. And now this is, we're going to have to go through what we're going through right now because we have not really evolved. Notaries, when did you ever remember a notary being done virtually,
remotely? Yeah, I know.
Before the pandemic, a closing. And I think Quicken Loans or Rocket Mortgage was like the first one that conducted the whole sales factor, like a closing at like your table. I remember having a closing with Rocket Mortgage. I was like, I don't know what Rocket Mortgage is at the time. Like, what is this? Like everything is done online, submitting paperwork, personal information online.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I want to go inside of an office. But let me tell you, like that was a game changer. And this is like personal information. So I think that if we can get through that, on the financial side of it, and we can get through, notaries and, make this industry pandemic, recession, any disaster proof, I think that will be okay. And I'm all for AI. I'm 1,000% for AI.
Yeah, I think, efficiency, and time saving, and it's actually going to make, everyone's life easier. And it's a matter, it's not about fighting it. It's like, if you can't beat them, join them. Right. So the evolution is inevitable. So it's just a matter of getting with the program and making it work for you in the way that it should. So I definitely,
I can't wait. I already see it and I'm like, okay, something has to get created. Somebody's going to do something soon.
For sure. It's a wave of the future. I love it. Yeah. Well, we're going to take a brief commercial break and then we're going to come right back with part 2 with Haritini. Thank you guys so much. Stand by.
This is Talia Bashani, your real estate attorney and negotiation expert.
I'm here to give you the straight up, no nonsense, practical legal negotiation tools that can either make or break your deal. I've been practicing in New York City for 15 years, and I've closed over 10,000 properties and over $500 million in real estate. I've seen it all while working with the most successful real estate agents in one of the most competitive cities known for record-breaking real estate deals. Mindset is a powerful tool and essential to growth, but add that to essential creative negotiation tools and you're unstoppable. If you want to get certified in luxury real estate sales, acquire more exclusive listings, and learn the nuts and bolts of high-end real estate transactions, then check out my coaching program and learn the tools and secrets to become a 7-figure realtor. My goal is to ensure that you increase your closing percentage, you double your commission, and you make more money by working smarter, not harder. You hold the key and the power to your own success. All you have to do is follow my negotiation tools and strategies that I've developed for you in order to excel. For more information and to get a free preview of my program, check out Tali360.com, and let's get started today. All right, welcome back, Haritini, with part 2 of Real Estate Powerhouse live on Tab Talks. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we are going to get into a little bit more of the nitty gritty. You know, everybody likes a good, scoop. So first thing I want to talk about is, what do you think the biggest lesson of your career has been?
Lesson. There's a lot of lessons. Don't take things personal. That's one lesson. Never ever lead with ego. Like I can sit here and say and take accountability that I've led with ego on several things early on. Never be afraid to ask for help. Don't think that you could do it all. Those are true lessons that I've learned that I'm sure other people in every business, go through. We're all human. We all have this idea of what we can do, but sometimes if you don't know it, ask for help. That's the biggest lesson learned, because you can make a very, very expensive mistake.
Yeah, you never want to assume, and you never want to think that you know it all. I feel like every day is an opportunity for growth and to, learn new things, both about yourself and about your work. And that's crucial. That's so important. And so let's talk about the flip side. What do you think your biggest break was and the biggest, game changer in your career?
The biggest game changer is probably happening right now.
Okay.
So, speaking of social media, I ended up, being contacted by somebody in India several years back. Do you deal with like Brooklyn and Brookville? I think they got it confused.
Okay.
Anyways, it ended up leading me to a seller who, we all built a bond and became a team.
Okay.
I never ended up working with him, but we had that connection, the trust was built. He eventually led me to another client who I would have never, ever, ever been able to be in contact with. And currently right now we're working on something that's pretty much extraordinary. It has to do with AI, but it's preventative healthcare.
Okay.
So I'm on the real estate side of it. I'm representing them.
Okay.
So fingers crossed.
All right. So you're on the brink. It's about to blow up. You're about to explode. That's great.
We don't have it in New York just yet. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you might be the trailblazer and exactly what, this town has been looking for. So that's awesome. I love to hear that. Congrats on that. So I know, in today's market, and it's probably been going on for a while, but we've all heard, about discount brokers, listing agents who don't necessarily like to co-broke. It is controversial and not a lot of people talk about it. It's not at the forefront, but I want to hear your experience and your opinion about what's going on kind of behind the scenes.
So yeah, this is very dear to my heart because we struggle with it every day. This isn't something new. It's something that's been happening for a really long time. Percentages. I think that there's agents that forget that we work for the seller, and there's a lot of sellers that are, going to these discount brokerages that are accepting 1 to 3%, as opposed to going to a larger fit where, we're charging 4 to 6 or 5 or 6.
Yeah.
We all know that there's a huge difference.
Right.
They don't, what the public doesn't know and doesn't understand. It's kind of, we already know as agents what's really going on, but nobody really publicly talks about it. And I don't know why, because we all know that if you're taking 1 to 2 to 3% on a deal, you are actually doing the seller, and it's a disservice. You're doing the seller a disservice ultimately, because what you're not saying to the seller, and this is probably 90% of the time, that you're blocking other agents out because you want to keep the lion's share, right, the entire thing, for yourself, and you're blocking out agents who have potentially excellent buyers that might pay more for your property, and you're literally not. It's a disadvantage. It's a weakness, and I think that instead of agents competing for percentages, personally, the whole business model should be straight across. It should be reconfigured with like thresholds. So the larger the deal, the smaller the percentage. Well, that's what a lot of people do. Right. So I think that it's not right. It's not right. A lot of people in my industry are totally upset about it. Yeah. But also, like, you get what you pay for. You really do. I remember seeing a discount broker, got a listing at like 2%. He's not spending any money in marketing. They don't care. Yeah. They're taking their iPhone, snapping like crooked pictures, and that they're representing you, right? The seller. So you're not going to get top dollar when the presentation is so poorly done. There's nothing to compete or compare to when you're working with different caliber agencies. And not that there's anything wrong with discount brokerages, yeah, but I feel like they should kind of jump on the bandwagon and change their model, because everybody wins in that sense. Yeah. It's not just you. If you have to take a lower percentage, then you, as an agent, need to work, that you're going to have to work harder, right? Yeah, right. Regardless of whether or not, you're going to have to work harder. And I think that they just end up settling. Sellers just end up settling because they feel like they're getting more money out of the smaller percentage than if they were to go for like a 5 or 6%er. It's terrible.
And it's ethics at the end of the day as well. Yeah. It's not very ethical. And you have a fiduciary duty, to your client, that every offer that comes, across your table, even if it's from an outside agent or a buyer's agent, that listing agent needs to present it to the seller. And by blocking buyer's agents, because they don't want to co-broke and they want to keep 100% of the pie, at the end of the day, they're really losing and they're not representing their seller properly. So it's a disservice.
It is. Sellers don't understand that. They're looking at, the 2%, the 3%. That's not it. Right. If I can save you money, trust me, I would. I'm for, the whole entire thing to get done. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when you hire an agent to represent you, and you have no idea that they're blocking out potential buyers, your property is going to sit long on the market because other agents, that's another thing. Other agents that are getting higher percentages don't want to push your listing. They won't come to your listing because they already know that they don't stand a chance. And why would I waste my time on a 2 and 3%er, where I know that you're going to play games with me, not answer the phones, try to cut me out. It's you don't want to deal with that. You really don't.
And you're playing games, and it's like, is this business, or are we, playing a game of chess here? Like, what's really going on? And again, at the end of the day, we're trying to make a deal happen. So I completely, hear you on that. And I think it really is a disruption. It's a disruption to the industry. And to your point, talking about, value, when I speak with agents and I give my seminars and my seal the deal to win exclusive listings, I always say, don't sell yourself short. You are worth every bit of the 6%, and 6% is a small piece of the pie in the grand scheme of things, and especially the value that you're bringing to the table. You guys do so much, especially when taking on an exclusive listing. So what do you think the solution is to this? Like, if you were a policymaker, what do you think it can be done to, try and circumvent this type of, action and behavior?
I think that it, legally can be done. Either restructure the whole business model in itself, and it's not from brokerage to brokerage. I'm sorry about the noise outside. I think I would probably just do a threshold, either a threshold of, 500,000. I'm speaking in like New York numbers, but 500,000 to, let's say, $1.5 million. This is the percentage, over 2 million to 4 million, 5 million. This is the percentage. I would structure it in a way where it's understood.
Right.
It's understood for everybody. It's clear. It's not cutthroat. Because at the end of the day, it's a sale, right? It's a transaction, and we all want to get it done. But you want to make sure that as a seller, you're getting, the service that you're paying for. And even as a buyer, you're working with buyers. You want to make sure that you're doing right by them too. So, let's say a buyer wants a house that is a 2% deal. I'm not going to say no.
Right.
That's against my belief. I'm going to do it. The deal that we were on, I was at a 2%.
Okay. Yeah.
So, my buyers wanted it. I worked with, an awesome agent that is pro co-broking, and, she was wonderful to work with. There's agents that are like that, but there's also other agents that are like, oh, I'll call you back, oh, that's not available. There's no need for that. So I would probably restructure the business in a sense where it's making it fair and clear and known to all parties, and there's no questions.
Yeah, that's a great solution. That's, and absolutely. And that way it's full disclosure, to everybody across the board, and everybody's aware, and this is what it is, and there's none of this funny business. No, that's so important. Now, when you take exclusives, talk about a little bit about what you do on the listing side as an exclusive agent, because a lot of people, don't realize the amount of, just preparation and, maybe staging and your marketing and your video tours. What do you do to prepare a property for listing to go live?
There's a whole, marketing strategy behind it. Not just every property is marketed differently, and that's what we're seeing today. I think that over the years, people will just do photography, videography, maybe floor plan. And that's like today, that's like the bare minimum. That's expected. Yeah. Now you really have to get creative as an agent or a team to, make sure that when that property hits the public eye, you have a window of whether or not it's going to sell fast or it's going to sit on the market and it's going to be stagnant. So, I think that it's important to get creative depending on what type of property you're working with. So for instance, recently I had to stage, we did 3 types of videos, lifestyle, drone, to show, just, give the scope of, not only what the property, has to offer, but also the neighborhood. People want to see, what's around the neighborhood. Do I want to live around this neighborhood? Am I going to find it exciting? Am I going to want to, jog down this road? Am I going to want to have coffee at the local coffee shop? What is that like?
Right.
It's a lifestyle. It's not just, a house with a roof and that's that. And live happily ever after. It's, I would say we all have to change the way that we view marketing in general, and, get more creative. And I like getting creative with the work that I do. It gives me like a high. It's fun for me.
Yeah, it's like an art form, and you're thinking outside of the box. It's not just cookie cutter and black and white. And it's like, this is your masterpiece.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I feel like I've learned so much from you, and you really have some wonderful, excellent insight just on the industry and just on the whole, real estate market as a whole. If people wanted to reach out to you and learn more about you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
You can, I always pick up my phone. I'm on 24/7. My cell at 917-468-8010. So,
and what's your Instagram handle? What's your handle on Instagram?
My first and my last name. Very simple.
Okay.
Haritini Pandis. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Haritini. Great seeing you.
Great seeing you too.
All right. Bye-bye.
You've been tuning into Real Estate Powerhouse live on Tab Talks with your host attorney, Talia Bashani. For more information, please visit Tali360.com. You can watch this show streaming live on StreamYard and available across all social media outlets, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook Live, and more. Stay tuned for next week's episode. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, and questions, and please share this show with your network.